Hello. Got a bigger smile?
In honor of the Mitzvah of Mussi Kaplan. My name is celebrating this milestone in the life of my oldest niece. Mussi has been the source of joy for my family ever since she was born. She made us all aunts and uncles. She made my parents Bubby and Zadie. And she's been a great source of nachas to her immediate and extended family. Mussi makes us so proud. I visited the Kaplans many times, I think too many times to count, and beginning when Mussi was just a little baby, and all through her childhood years. And it's amazing to see how Mussi has grown on Vancouver Island to be an extraordinary young Jewish lady. Mussi's gentleness, humility, sincerity are a great role model for her brothers and sisters, and cousins too. Mussi, we wish you today much continued success in all you do. May you remain a source of light to your home, your family, and your community. On the day of Mussi's 12th birthday, Rifki, her sister, prepared a letter that she wrote expressing her feelings and her thoughts on this special day. We asked Rifki to share this letter with all of you. At first she was hesitant, but then she finally agreed. Please give your attention to the next bat mitzvah girl, Rifki Kaplan.
Dear Mussi, happy Bar Mitzvah. I can't believe you are already 12. Wait, my older sister Mussi, the one who played games with me, made dances, and helped me with my dolls, is it her? Is it my older sister? I can't even think of words to say thank you for everything you do. I don't know where to start. Every detail was important, from the smallest smile to the biggest comment on my awful cooking skills. How can I do anything without you? I can't imagine being the oldest and not having help from someone older to teach me, play with me, and help me grow. I just love those sister times, the time we spend together, either just at night chatting with each other or going on a walk around the block, laughing together. There were so many things I loved doing with you. I love making plays with you. You know how to touch up my princess gown and give my makeup a special shine. In the game family, you were always the mommy. I love being the baby. It was me crawling on the floor crying to my mother. Although these games are funny and pretty childish, I have to admit that to me these games are real. You're my older sister and my second mother, the one I look up to for help when I need it. I wouldn't be like I am now without you. A long time ago, when I was like 7, I had a dream that you turned 12. When I woke up, I laughed at myself. You won't be 12 for 2 million years. But it's scary how time flies. Mussi, you're a Bar Mitzvah, you're 12. You're a cook, a baker, a babysitter, a friend, a daughter, a teacher, a role model, and the best sister. Before I finish this letter, I want to give you a bracha to be a role model for everyone around you, to be able to do your hachlates easily. You should have everything you want and need. You should have atzlacha and success in everything you do. Always be happy and healthy. Give nachas and joy to your parents, teachers, and the Rebbe. You should have a long life, grow up to be a chassid Hashem Yidel, and may Mashiach come in your marriage. Thank you for being the best big sister and always being there for me when I needed you. Every little detail to make me happy makes such a big difference. You're the best sister. I love you. Mazel tov, your little sister, Efki.
Wow, very sweet. Thank you, Rifki. My mother has never before agreed to give a public talk or a speech. It's in honor of Mussi that her puppy agreed to speak on the occasion of her first grandchild's bar mitzvah. It's my unique honor to call my mother to speak on behalf of Mussi's grandparents.
Good evening and welcome. First and foremost, I would like to thank Hashem for enabling me to come here to Victoria to celebrate this very special day with the entire Kaplan family, my very dear children, and the entire wonderful Jewish community. Living far from the children is not very easy, but I'm most grateful to the Lubavitcher Rebbe for the merit of choosing my husband and myself amongst thousands of others as his emissaries and my dear children to be part of the army of Shluchim, part of an army to spread Yiddishkeit with total devotion, care, dedication, love, and the list does not end. That is true nachas, the pleasure derived from my dear Kaplan family, the knowledge and now seeing in reality the beautiful, warm, welcoming, and supportive community they live in. That makes our distance closer and more bearable. I'm thrilled to be able to participate in Mussi's Bas Mitzvah. Wow. 12 years just flew by since we got the phone call from Rabbi Kaplan our dear eldest son-in-law, a phone call that changed our lives forever, and giving my husband and myself a new status, Zadie and Bobby. My dear Mussi, if I would have to enumerate all my heartfelt wishes and blessings to you on this special day of your bat mitzvah, the day you joined us all in womanhood, we wouldn't be going home for a very long time. Therefore, I will just summarize and wish you, Mussi, thank God, a beautiful girl inside and out to continue in your parents' footsteps and even surpass them. Not an easy task. With much health, true happiness, and lots of success. Last but not least, I would like to thank all of you for being my children's extended family. You are all great, and may Hashem continue to shower upon you and all of us revealed blessings now and forever.
Ma, thank you. You expressed so well the thoughts of many of the family members who couldn't be here with us today. It's now my great privilege to call up the bat mitzvah girl herself, in whose honor we're all here today. Mussi, please come up.
I gave my speech in Shul on the last day of Pesach, and I felt like splitting the sea once again. I hope the second time will be easier. I'm honored to have here my grandmother, Bobby Kesselman, who traveled all the way from Michigan to celebrate with my family and me. My heart overflows with joy seeing so many of our friends who came to take part in the Simcha. I was born 12 years ago on Staten Island, New York. I lived there for less than 6 months before I moved to a bigger island on the other side of the continent. They are both islands, but there is very little they have in common. First of all, as far as I'm concerned, an island that you could get onto with a bridge is not much of an island. The weather is very different, the environment, the beauty, the nature, and the list goes on. But the real difference for me is something else. I was born in a place that was filled with Jewish life, second to Israel in its Jewish atmosphere, and I'm growing up in a place where, let's put it this way, Judaism is not in your face. But I'm only thankful to my parents for making this move. Not only because of the great opportunities they brought to this community and to the many hundreds of Jewish people who have strengthened their connection to Jewish life through their efforts and hard work, I'm also thankful to the great privilege of living in this community. You have taught me that you can be Jewish wherever you live. I have learned from you that commitment to Jewish life comes from within, not from peer pressure and outside forces. I have seen from so many of you how you are ready to grow and learn, that even if you have lived all your life one way, you are prepared to embrace new concepts and ideas. I know that no other place in the world will I be able to be inspired so deeply. I know Tati and Mommy. I took fetch here and there about not having a real school and a kosher pizza shop and so many other things. But today on my bat mitzvah, this is truly how I feel. I'm thankful to our dear Rabbi who inspired my parents to come live here, and his life and teachings continue to inspire and guide us. I'm thankful to my best friends, my siblings, Rifki, Liebel, Menzel, Rachel, Sheena, Shambar, and Chaya. There is nothing like you in the whole world. I'm thankful to Hashem for all these blessings and many more. I got such great gifts, and on the day of my bat mitzvah, I promise to do all I can to use them in the best possible way and bring more goodness and kindness into our world.
It's now my honor to call up my older sister, who I admire so much, our beloved Hani.
Mussi and Rifki and Mommy, you all spoke so beautifully. It's a very hard act to follow. I'll try to keep it brief. Mussi, you brought so much joy into my world and our world since you made me a mother. I couldn't have asked for a better firstborn daughter. It's not easy to be an older sister to 7 brothers and sisters, but you do it with such grace, in the kindest way, and with so much understanding and care. You're paving the path to your siblings to be selfless and kind, being a living example with your constant desire to help and give. I know that this character and commitment you have, you got from many generations of Jewish women and mothers who are responsible for the continuity of Jewish life and survival of the Jewish people. Today, in honor of your bat mitzvah, we will travel back in time to some of these great figures. We will get a glimpse into the life of some of the matriarchs and women whose courage and determination has made it possible for us to continue the chain of our unbroken tradition. Please sit back and enjoy as we present to you a fashion show of Jewish women throughout the ages. Please turn your chairs to the runway so you're facing the middle, where the presentation will begin shortly.
My name is Rachel. I was born in Mesopotamia in 1585, before the Common Era. My mother died when I was very young, and I was raised by my father. Unfortunately, I was raised by men of deceit. My father learned his deceitful tricks from his father. He carried them out with professional ease, cheating and fooling whoever came his way. My first encounter with my husband Yaakov was at the well, where I was attending my father's flock. We knew that we were destined for each other. The only obstacle was my father. We feared that at the last possible moment he would insist on my older sister Leah being the bride instead of me. So we devised a secret code between us. At the wedding, when Yaakov would approach his veiled bride, she would give over the signs, thereby ensuring that she was indeed the right sister. The wedding finally arrived. True to form, my father couldn't let things go as planned. He made all the elaborate preparations for the wedding, with Leah as the bride. My concern was, what will be for my sister? Yaakov will approach Leah asking for the secret signs, and Leah won't know what he's referring to. Yes, I'll be saved. Leah won't be married to my groom. But the shame, the disgrace that Leah will feel, the embarrassment in front of the entire town. So I taught my sister the private signals that I and my betrothed had arranged. Of course, Yaakov eventually discovered the deception. And sometime after this wedding, another wedding occurred. Only this time I was the bride. Yet, for the rest of my life, I would not be my husband's only wife. My husband Yaakov had 2 burial plots in the hills of Hebron. It was where Sarah and Rivka were buried. I have decided already that my sister Leah will be buried there. But for the sake of my children, I shall be buried in Bethlehem. In my vision, I see in 1200 years from now, my children will be living in the Holy Land. But hundreds of thousands of Jews, shackled and broken in spirit, will be chased out of their land by the Babylonian general Nebuzaradan. This sad procession will lead the weary Jews directly past the road where I will lay, so my children will be able to stop at my grave and pray to the one above. Maybe in my merit, he will answer their heartfelt prayers. Years later, Rachel's prophecy came to pass. The Jewish people indeed, unfortunately, succumbed to their evil inclinations. They worshipped idols and ignored the pleas of the prophets. The Babylonians destroyed the temple and brought the Jews back with them to Babylonia. And just as Rachel had foreseen, the broken, desperate Jews crowded around Rachel's grave and cried their hearts out. The Midrash relates, as the temple lay in ruins and Jews were being led into exile as slaves, Abraham came before God and said, "Master of the universe, when I was 100 years old, you gave me a son, and when he was 37 years old, you told me, 'Raise him as a sacrifice before me.' I overcame my natural mercy and bound him myself. Will you not remember my devotion and have mercy on my children?" Next, Yitzchak approached. When my father said, "God will show us the lamb for a sacrifice, my son," I did not hesitate, but accepted my fate and extended my neck to be slaughtered. Will you not remember my strength and have mercy on my children? Then Yaakov beseeched, "I worked for 20 years in the house of Laban, and when I left, Esav came to harm me. I suffered all my life raising my children. Now they are being led like sheep to the slaughter in the hands of their enemies. Won't you remember all the pain and suffering and redeem my children?" Moshe rose up and said, "Was I not a loyal shepherd of Israel for 40 years? I ran before them in the desert like a horse. When the time came to enter Israel, you decreed that I would die in the desert. Now they go into exile. Won't you listen to my crying over them?" Before all these virtuous defenders, God remained silent. Then Rachel lifted her voice, "Master of the universe, you know that Yaakov loved me intensely and worked for 7 years in order to marry me. When the time for my marriage came, my father substituted my sister for me. I did not begrudge my sister, and I didn't let her be shamed. I even revealed to her the secret signs that Yaakov and I had arranged. If I, a mere mortal, was not prepared to humiliate my sister and was willing to take a rival into my home, how could you, the eternal, compassionate God, be jealous of idols which have no true existence that were brought into your home? Will you cause my children to be exiled on this account?" Immediately, God's mercy was aroused, and he responded, "For you, Rachel, I will bring Israel back to their place. In the words of the prophet Nishma nehi bechi tamrurim. Rachel mevaka al banea me'ana. Lehinachem al banea ki enenu. Ko amar Adonai, mini kolech mi bechi, ve'enaich midima ki yesh sacha lefulatech, neum Adonai, v'shavu me'eretz oyev, v'yesh tikva le'acharitech, neum Adonai, v'shavu banim ligvulam." A voice is heard on high, lamentation, bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children, for they are not. So says the Lord, "Refrain your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for there is reward for your work, says the Lord, and they shall come back from the land of the enemy. And there is hope for your future, says the Lord. and the children shall return to their own border.
My name is Esther, or Hadassah, and I am the Queen of Persia. I'm sure you are wondering, how does a Jewish girl become a queen in Persia? In the year 366 BCE, King Ahasuerus threw an extravagant party for all his subjects, celebrating the third anniversary of his ascension to the throne. It was a year in which he had completed the construction of his magnificent throne, secured his reign, and taken Vashti as his queen. Citizens from throughout the 127 provinces came to the capital city of Shushan to partake in the 180-day celebration. And what a sight they beheld! Ironically, precisely at the feast celebrating Vashti's queenship, Vashti angered her drunken husband, and he had her executed. The king became lonely and sought a new queen. He made a declaration that all pretty young maidens be gathered to Shushan, the capital, where they would undergo a 12-month beauty treatment in the palace harem. I was a young orphan. I lived under the care of my cousin Mordecai, a well-known leader in the community. Against my will, I was taken to the king's palace, one of the many women who were candidates to become the next queen. Although the other girls requested cosmetics, ointments, jewelry, and clothing, I didn't ask for any accoutrements to enhance my beauty. I had no desire to impress the king. Instead, I tried to decrease my chances of charming Ahasuerus so that I would be rejected and sent home to my family. But of all the candidates, I was chosen as the most beautiful maiden and was crowned queen. Tragically, I was forced to live in the seat of unholiness, the headquarters of the Persian Empire, infamous for its depraved debauchery. I abhorred the debased society of the palace. Nevertheless, the immorality and decadence of the king's palace did not prevent me from living a full Jewish life according to the training I had received from Mordecai. I was instructed by Mordecai to keep my identity as a Jewess a secret, but I still devised a plan to keep Shabbat. I requested 7 maidservants and rotated them daily, so that the maid serving me on Shabbat assumed that I did no work on the remaining days of the week. I also observed the holidays and ate only kosher food. This double life required much cunning. To be a clandestine religious Jewess while simultaneously attending to the dazzling palace lifestyle wasn't simple. Meanwhile, Haman, one of Ahasuerus' ministers, was promoted to the position of prime minister. Haman was a virulent Jew-hater. In fact, he was a descendant of the notoriously anti-Semitic nation of Amalek. Haman approached Ahasuerus and offered him 10,000 silver talents in exchange for permission to exterminate the Jews. Ahasuerus, who was no friend of the Jews either, told Haman, "The money is yours to keep, and the nation is yours to do with as you please." Mordecai became aware of the decree. He rent his garments and donned sackcloth. He sent me messages to approach the king and beg him to spare my people. I agreed to approach the king, but first I asked Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Shushan and tell them to fast and pray for 3 days on my behalf. Mordecai complied with my request. He gathered the Jews of Shushan, especially the children, 22,000 of them, and they fasted, repented, and prayed to God. As I'm sure you know, my plea to the king helped, and the Jews were saved from a decree of annihilation, bringing about the joyous Jewish holiday of Purim. While the chain of events leading to the salvation of my people was certainly divinely orchestrated, I have no doubt that the fact that I was able to save the Jews is thanks to my connection to my brothers and sisters, which was maintained through my determination to never give up any of my Jewish observance, even while being in the Persian queen's palace. After the very happy ending of the story, I asked the sages, "Write me down for all generations." And the book that bears my name became the last book of the 24 books of the Tanakh, the Bible. Future Jewish generations to remember that the secret of our survival is our connection to God through the Torah, our rich and eternal heritage.
My name is Bruria. I came into the world during one of the most painful times in our history, shortly after the Romans destroyed the temple and the city of Jerusalem and drove most of us out of our land. My father was the great sage, Rabbi Hananiah ben Taradion. I witnessed his death at the hands of the Romans as one of the 10 martyrs for what they considered the sin of spreading the teachings of the Torah among the Jewish people. Then and there, I made a commitment to study Torah to the best of my ability, to ensure the continuity of our heritage and to continue the legacy of my father. With God's help and using the gifts that he gave me, every day I studied 300 matters pertaining to halacha, Jewish law, and I became very knowledgeable. The rabbis and sages of the time frequently asked for my views regarding matters of law, and with great humility accepted my authority in many fields of Torah. I had the great fortune of marrying the great sage Rabbi Meir, who was one of the prominent teachers of the Mishnah and a spiritual leader to many. Occasionally, I would help him through difficult times by introducing an insight from the Torah, which would help him see a situation in a brighter light. As many others were at the same time, we were harassed and disturbed by our neighbors. Their terrible behavior was such that they constantly interfered with our family life and Torah study. In his anger, my husband once prayed that God rid him of these wicked pests. Hearing his prayer, I gently said, "The psalmists say, 'May the sins disappear from the earth.' You see, the word is sins, not sinners. One should pray that evil disappear. Then there will be no evildoers." My husband followed my advice. My husband and I also suffered the greatest tragedy, the death of our two beloved sons. One Shabbat afternoon, a sudden sickness struck our children, and they passed away before anything could be done. This happened while my husband was teaching and learning at the study hall. I covered them up in the bedroom and did not say a word to anyone. After nightfall, my husband returned from the house of learning and asked for his sons. Casually, I remarked that they had gone out. I prepared the Havdalah, the cup of wine, the light and the spices. I also managed to distract him while I prepared and served the Malava Malka, the evening meal with which we accompany the departing Shabbat Queen. Then, after he had finished eating, I asked my husband for an answer to the following problem. Tell me, my beloved, what shall I do? Some time ago, something was left with me for safekeeping. Now the owner has returned to claim it. Must I return it? My husband replied in astonishment, That is a very strange question indeed. How can you doubt the right of the owner to claim what belongs to him? Well, I did not want to return it without letting you know of it, I replied. I then led my husband into the bedroom where our two beautiful sons lay in their eternal sleep. I removed the bed covers from their still bodies. Rabbi Meir, seeing his beloved sons and realizing that they had passed away, burst into bitter weeping. My dear husband, I gently reminded him, didn't you yourself say a moment ago that the owner has the right to claim his property? God gave and God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. At the time of our horrible loss, I was able to bring another perspective to help us cope. Torah gives us tools to handle the most challenging moments of life with faith and with strength. Baruch Hashem.
I was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1937 with the name Dina Denderowitz. I was an only child to my parents. I wasn't yet 2 when heavy bombardment shook Warsaw. Our apartment was entirely destroyed and we became homeless. My aunt, who lived in a town on the Russian border, took us in. Shortly after this, we were exiled to Siberia by the Russians. While life in freezing Siberia wasn't fun, especially during the war, losing our home saved our lives. My father's 6 brothers and their families, and my mother's 2 sisters and their families were killed by the Nazis, together with hundreds of thousands of Jews from Warsaw. After the war, when my mother and I returned to Poland, the land where 90% of its Jewish population was killed for simply being Jews, my mother immediately started looking for a Jewish school for me. She knew what she wanted her daughter to become. This was the heroic act of a Jewish mother. When in turn my children grew up, I had no doubt what kind of education I wanted them to have. And now my greatest wish is that my grandchildren follow this path as well. I believe that this resolve, mine and my mother's, is the essence of our history and the secret of our survival. The Nazis' intention wasn't merely to murder as many Jews as possible, men, women, and children. They had another objective: to dehumanize the Jews. They did everything in their power to turn their Jewish prisoners into subhuman creatures. through abuse and torture. They wanted them to lose their morals and humanity. They enjoyed seeing the Jews, who symbolized high morals and values, act like creatures who cared only for their own survival. They wanted to not only strip them of their clothes, but to strip them of their dignity. Millions of these holy and pure souls resisted this dehumanization and maintained their high morals, spiritual consciousness, and brotherly love throughout the torture of these cruelest of people. There were the women who came together in secret in the Warsaw Ghetto to bake matzah, those who gave up the portion of food in Auschwitz to light a Hanukkah menorah, the Jews who circumcised their newborns in concentration camps, fasted on Yom Kippur in death camps, gathered to pray from one torn siddur on the high holidays, and made a seder on Pesach with only bitter herbs inside the gates of hell. There were the mothers who risked their lives for the devotion to their children, those who shared their only piece of bread with their friends, and others who cared for a child who wasn't theirs while endangering their own survival. These men, women, and children fought the Nazis with no weapons, but they won. They kept their godly image and their dignity under these horrifying circumstances at the darkest of times. These are the greatest heroes of history. The hundreds of thousands who lost all their loved ones and experienced the worst terror that could happen, but started new lives, built new homes, and brought new children into the world. Those who, after surviving the death march, made great contributions to humanity in the fields of science, medicine, and human behavior. They all showed that the Jewish spirit can never be broken. The women who witnessed the hatred towards their faith but were not prepared to give it up. The mothers who educated their children despite these horrors to spread only love, goodness, and kindness. And yes, to be proud of their Jewish heritage. These are the matriarchs of our generation.
My name is Mercedes. I was born and raised in Israel to a wonderful and warm family. Growing up in the Jewish state with a large family meant that I was constantly surrounded by Jewish life and experiences, including wonderful memories of my grandparents who brought Jewish holidays to life with great dedication and excitement. However, living in Israel doesn't necessarily mean that you get to appreciate our rich heritage, the meaning of the Torah, and the power of Mitzvot. In fact, sometimes you may see it as a burden and think you might have a better life without it. I moved to Canada in 1998 with my daughter, and we were very happy. I was married and felt very satisfied with my life. Living in a nice home, in a peaceful environment, with the children I loved so dearly, seemed to give me all I needed for a fulfilling life. This was true until I got to know what Jewish life really has to offer for me as a Jew and as a mother. It all started when my parents came from Israel to help us with the impossible task of recovering from the loss of my wonderful husband and the father of my children. They arrived 2 months after he passed away, in August 2013. Knowing that my husband wanted our son to have a bar mitzvah, and with the encouragement of my parents, I found Rabbi Kaplan's number online. Determined to help us start our new journey, the spiritual leader slowly found a way into my son's grieving soul. I was hopeful, but didn't expect my boy to turn into a bar mitzvah star. I had visualized something short and symbolic, and then get on with what I would today call our life before the Kaplans. A bit sad, without a deep meaning or a bigger-than-life kind of mission. But never did I visualize a complete transformation. With Chabad's unconditional love, my children and I witnessed a change from being people who simply lived a life to individuals who are committed to bringing Hashem's light to the world. This transformation made me recognize that Judaism has the wisdom to make us see the world in a much deeper way and to lead a life of meaning and spirituality. I feel that our Torah is the best user guide for day-to-day life as well as for special occasions and milestones. It shows us how to take advantage of everything that really matters in our lives and to constantly grow as people and as Jews. I really feel that the mitzvot connect me with the Creator and fill my life with spirit and joy. Walking in the path of our ancestors makes my soul shine brighter than I ever thought it could. The happiness of rediscovering my connection to Judaism is the deepest joy I have ever experienced. This magic could be felt with even one mitzvah, lighting the Shabbat candles, the custom that started with our matriarch Sarah and continues until our time. The peace that Shabbat brings upon me and my family is indescribable and irreplaceable. I think of generations of Jewish women and girls who risked their lives to stay true to their faith. I imagine the great hardship the Jewish women endured in order to have the children follow the Jewish path, under terrible persecutions, expulsions, and miseries. Today we don't need to undergo any sufferings in order to express our souls and be who we really are. We can do it joyfully and freely. It is entirely in our hands. In fact, I can say from my experience that adopting more mitzvot, living a life imbued with Torah, makes my life happier as an individual, as a family, and as a member of the community. I look at Mussi and my eyes see a child who respects her parents dearly and who is never sad. I look at the beautiful bat mitzvah girl and see the joy and enthusiasm. I know that we have a new link in the unbreakable golden chain of Yiddishkeit. Clearly, Rachel, Esther, Bruria, and all the Jewish women of all times will take pride in their descendants who continue to hold the torch up high.
The flame of Jewish tradition is passed through the lighting of Shabbat candles, a practice that started with Sarah, the first Jewish woman. These candles, which show the direction to Rachel in Mesopotamia, the same light that gave courage to Esther in the Persian palace, this same faith that provided strength to Bruria in ancient Israel, the glow that warmed the frost of Siberia to Dinah and her family, is the same flame that is being passed down to Mussi. With her lighting Shabbat candles, she commits herself to continue to brighten the world with the eternal light of Jewish faith, until we will see the fulfillment of the prophecy, and nations shall go by your light, and kings by the brilliance of your shine. May it be speedily in our days. Amen.
husband and I and our entire family would like to thank from the bottom of our hearts everyone who made this event happen. My mother, who came all the way from Michigan, who helped with all the details, big and small, who made the beautiful birthday cake, and for schlepping lots of things across the continent so we can have them here this evening. Thank you. Thank you to my sister Bloomy for all her help day and night again, for helping and preparing all the desserts and the setup of the hall. Thank you to our dear friend Lindy and her daughter Ellie for preparing the beautiful centerpieces. Thank you to all of our amazing models, Lindy Short, Sharon Fitch, Fiona Prince, Dina Wolf, Mercedes Verrier, and Mrs. Ruth Cooperstock for helping with the narration. And for all of our friends who sent their heartfelt blessings and gifts to Mussi and our family, and to each one of you for making this such a great Simcha. Thank you.
Left from the goodies and take advantage of your evening out. At the entrance, there's a table with books, a special souvenir for Mussi's Bar Mitzvah. Please take one per family. Thank you very much. Have a good night and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You on the shirt? Or you want to do it? Right there, nice smile. Okay. That was amazing. Perfect, thank you. We're good. Thanks, dude. Thanks. That's good, Drew. Thanks, Looking over here. Okay, so ready? We do that 1, 2, 3, all right? So close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, open. Perfect.
So try to look behind you.
Perfect, thank you. Good stuff, looking over here. We're going to fire off a bunch, okay? So I want to make sure everybody's eyes are open. Looking over here. Perfect, man. Perfect. Okay. Not too much, not too much. Look back a little bit. Back. The other way. There we go. Oh, beautiful smile. Good stuff. You look like you're happy. Thank you.